Dude, what are you doing? Boogering my hunt. Been stalking that thing for miles. About to get a shot on it, and a cameraman shows up? What's up with that? What? That's today? Like, right now? This evening now? The award ceremony? Okay, totally forgot about that. Dang, almost had that deer. Okay, just give me a few minutes to get myself together. Okay, and then, yeah, we'll do this. Okay, thanks for the reminder. Hello and welcome to the 2020 Seafwa Awards Virtual Edition. I am your host, J.D. Strong, Director of the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation and Seafwa Awards Committee Chair. I am so happy to have this opportunity to pass on a deer and acknowledge our peers and the incredible work being done in the Southeast region. It is such an honor to recognize the accomplishments of hardworking, dedicated conservationists. Before we get started though, I want to give a shout out to Missouri Department of Conservation Director Sarah Parker Pauley for hosting this year's event. I would also like to recognize the other members of our awards team. Chuck Sykes, Director of Alabama Wildlife and Freshwater Fisheries. Ross Self, Chief of Freshwater Fisheries, South Carolina DNR. Billy Dukes, Chief of Wildlife, South Carolina DNR. Randy Doman, Chief of Protection Branch, Missouri Department of Conservation. David Buggs, Chair of the Minorities in Natural Resources Conservation Awards Committee, and Kevin Dockendorf, Chair of the C.W. Watson Award Committee. Thank you all for your contributions to this evening's event. Our first award this evening is the Workforce Diversity and Inclusion Award. There were a number of qualified candidates for this award, none of which went unnoticed for the impact that they are making in engaging diversity and inclusion. The review committee had a difficult task trying to pick only one, for they felt they were all winners. Ultimately, Texas Parks and Wildlife Department's Community Outdoor Outreach Program, or co-op, was selected as the 2020 Seafwa Diversity and Inclusion Award winner because of their unique efforts to engage minorities, women, and persons with disabilities. Engaging underrepresented audiences in outdoor recreation and nature is the primary intent of the Community Outdoor Outreach Program. This program is an essential component of Texas Parks and Wildlife's goal to diversify the audiences visiting Texas state parks and utilizing agency programs, as well as increasing Texas residents' connection to natural and cultural resources. Examples of projects funded by Texas Parks and Wildlife in 2019 include a youth development program engaging 300 minority youth in 200 hours of nature-based adventures each year. Activities include mentor-led Saturday challenges and wilderness trips, such as a week-long backcountry camping experience at Colorado Bend State Park. An all-female youth program focused on environmental science and career development in conservation, as well as overnight campouts to McKinney Falls and Pedernales State Parks. 3 water-based programs in Galveston that include adaptive sailing training for disabled athletes, a youth sailing team, and educational field trips aboard a bay vessel for mostly low-income minority students. Congratulations, Texas Parks and Wildlife and your novel Community Outdoor Outreach Program for not just talking about diversity and inclusion, but for putting significant money where your mouth is to get underserved communities outdoors and enjoying all the Texas landscape has to offer. Our next award is the Wildlife Biologist of the Year. The Association's Wildlife Biologist of the Year Award is presented to a career biologist of a state wildlife agency who, in the opinion of the Seafwa Awards Committee, has made outstanding contributions towards wildlife conservation in the Southeast. Presenting the 2020 Wildlife Biologist of the Year Award is South Carolina Department of Natural Resources Deputy Director of Wildlife and Freshwater Fisheries, Emily Cope. Take it away, Emily.
Hello, I'm Emily Cope, Deputy Director for the Wildlife and Freshwater Fisheries Division of the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. It is my pleasure to present this year's Southeastern Wildlife Biologist of the Year Award. This year's award recipient is a dedicated champion for coastal birds, and her work has dramatically improved the understanding and conservation of these species. She has led her state's coastal bird management efforts and built a program that is recognized internationally. She has established private, government, and NGO partnerships and galvanized grassroots support to protect coastal bird habitat at approximately 30 sites. This has often included navigating conflict between multiple stakeholders and thinking outside the box to achieve these protections. She is a dedicated biologist, and her research activities have resulted in co-authoring 29 scientific publications. She has mentored numerous wildlife professionals and has served on 10 graduate committees. Her many conservation accomplishments include things such as the designation of 5 coastal island seabird sanctuaries, thereby allowing beach closures to increase nesting success. Additionally, she is an invited participant in the Arctic Shorebird Demographics Network, an internationally coordinated effort with 17 partners across Alaska, the Canadian Arctic, and Russia. She is a founding member of the American Oystercatcher Working Group and coordinated the first statewide winter shorebird and Wilson's plover breeding surveys in her state. Most recently, she worked with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and other partners to forge an ecosystem restoration project to renourish a diminishing seabird sanctuary with dredged material. Her calm demeanor and dedication to see this habitat restored are some of the many factors that were key to bringing together a local ecotourism outfit, Audubon, and a local nonprofit advocacy group to work towards the island's restoration. She is a model wildlife biologist, a recognized expert in her field, and an effective advocate for wildlife conservation. A day in the field with her can create a steward for coastal birds in just a few hours. If we could bottle her enthusiasm and dedication for the resource, or take multitudes of people on birding trips with her, we would have an army of people committed to being stewards for coastal birds. It is my distinct honor and privilege to announce that this year's Southeastern Wildlife Biologist of the Year is the Coastal Bird Conservation Project Supervisor for the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources, Ms. Felicia Sanders. Congratulations, Felicia, and thank you for all of your efforts to expand and enhance shorebird conservation.
Congratulations, Felicia. Now if you could just train some of those oyster catchers to drop a few of their tasty mollusks over my way. It's kind of hard for me to get fresh oysters out here in Oklahoma. Now we cut to one of 3 special recognition awards that the awards committee felt was worthy of Seafwa recognition. In an unprecedented time of uncertainty and closings brought on this past spring by the COVID-19 pandemic, the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation jumped into action to provide a ray of good news. The outdoors are always open. Working in close coordination with the State Health Department to engineer a COVID responsible plan, Oklahomans responded to this novel communication strategy by getting outdoors in droves and practicing social distancing in its natural setting. The State Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse agreed that ODWC's efforts to show Oklahomans an alternative to their COVID cabin fever would help provide badly needed relief from escalating mental illness, substance abuse, and domestic abuse. Families were eager for safe things they could do together, and fishing and other outdoor activities saw a huge spike in participation. From January to August, resident fishing license sales increased by nearly 50%, while non-resident fishing license sales increased 30% compared to the same period in 2019. More recently, with its launch of Outdoors Always Open Hunting Edition, the Department of Wildlife is experiencing similar spikes in hunting participation. You're doing fine, Oklahoma. Congratulations. It's about time. So embarrassing. I'm gonna break my wrist. Thank you very much. You'll be hearing from my lawyer. I'm calling the governor! Can you believe that, meathead? Guess the outdoors aren't always open in Oklahoma if you have the slightest little infraction. I mean, Who gets busted for not wearing enough hunter orange? Jeez, crazy. Well, now seems like a perfect time to recognize each Seafwa State's Law Enforcement Officer of the Year for their thankless, outstanding service to our constituents and the resource they are sworn to protect, a resource that has no voice. In all seriousness, I want to underscore our appreciation for your ability to keep your head high and your readiness calmed during what has been an unprecedented year for those working in the law enforcement community. You have my utmost respect. Alabama's Senior Conservation Enforcement Officer Jason McHenry. Arkansas Corporal Mac Davis. Florida Officer Specialist Asa Bo Diaz. Georgia Game Warden First Class Ryan Locke. Kentucky Officer Brian Dolan. Louisiana Sergeant Michael Garrity. Mississippi Private Peyton Mariscalco. Missouri Corporal Will Carr. North Carolina Master Officer D.W. Darby Enoch. Oklahoma Game Warden Jared Kramer. South Carolina Private First Class Tanner Riley. Tennessee Officer Joe McSpadden. Texas Officer Barry Eversole. Virginia Officer James Michael Patrio. West Virginia Natural Resources Police Officer Jacob Miller. And for the Fish and Wildlife Service, Special Agent Andrew Hutchinson. Before we get to the moment that you've all been waiting for, Seafwa's Officer of the Year Award, I want to point out that the award winner was somehow filmed receiving his award, yet still doesn't know if it's him. How his colonel pulled that off, I'll never know. They're just sneaky. Trust me, I know. You never see it coming with these guys and gals. Now we turn to Colonel Greg Ray for this year's award presentation for Seafwa's Officer of the Year.
This officer portrays a contagious, positive perspective to fellow workers and the public in everything they say, do, write, and produce. He takes personal responsibility for meeting commitments and solving problems. He demonstrates standards of excellence and professionalism, exemplifies standards and conduct that reflect honesty and fairness, and sets the examples for others through his behavior. This officer demonstrates the willingness to go beyond the call of duty by doing more than others expect. He continually seeks to improve efficiency on the job. He has identified means to increase constituent satisfaction and cost savings for the agency. This officer excels in effective communications with the public. He seeks opportunities to educate, inform, and exchange ideas with the public about agency programs and priorities. He works great on divisional cooperation within the agency, willing to pitch in and assist others, keeps others informed and up to date. He gives specific and helpful feedback to improve job performance, shares his own work experiences and helpful information to help accomplish agency missions. Just a few of the cases that he's made over this last year of importance are 11 night hunting cases, 4 road hunting cases, 6 baiting cases, 23 no license, and 7 criminal cases, with 4 of those being felonies. He regularly speaks to kids about drugs and alcohol. He participates in Reading Across America. He helps with Career Day, job shadows, and assists with classroom outings on WMAs. He regularly picks up deer that have been hit and assists them with cleaning them and provides them to families in need. He assisted 2 food banks distributing 3,000 gallons of milk, 1,000 boxes of produce, and delivering 279 boxes of food. He has set up and sold licenses in his own county because he doesn't have a license dealer there. He is also a vital part of the law enforcement community in his area. He has rescued 6 individuals on 3 separate incidents during heavy flooding this year. He not only began, but annually coordinates fishing derbies for 2 nursing homes in his area. He loves to shed hunt, so he organized and hosted a shed hunting class for becoming an outdoors woman. He found a location, took them on a shed hunt, and many were successful. He mentors the football team in his area as part of the Uncommon Man program. This officer has 20 years of law enforcement experience, with the last 7 being an Arkansas game warden. This officer came on board in 2013 following the loss of Wildlife Officer Joel Campora and Sheriff Cody Carpenter and the 2 ladies they were trying to rescue in White City. This officer was a perfect fit to bring on board as a direct hire to fill Joel's position. Since that day, this officer has excelled in every aspect of this job. He is the kind of person who you meet one time and you never forget. He has a great personality and doesn't seem to meet a stranger. Please join me in congratulating the 2020 Southeastern Law Enforcement Officer of the Year from Arkansas, Corporal Mac Davis.
Congratulations. Thank you.
What? You again? Now everybody's gonna know about my honey hole. Man, I was just enjoying my newfound freedom. Oh well, I wasn't getting any bites anyway. Guess I better get back to work. Back to the awards program. Now, as we transition to a raft of fisheries awards, get it? We begin with the annual award given on behalf of the Southern Division of the American Fisheries Society, recognizing the John F. DeQuine Best Fisheries Paper. As the name suggests, this award is presented for the best fisheries paper from the Seafwa Conference. The award is named in honor of John F. Jack DeQuine, who was the American Fisheries Society Southern Division's first president and longtime member and chair of the awards committee. Longtime chair of the awards committee. Maybe there's hope for me yet. This year's DeQuine Best Fisheries Paper Award winner is J. Wesley Neal, Bryant M. Haley, and Zachary S. Moran from Mississippi State University. Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico, effects on reservoir water quality, community structure, and resilience. And the runner-up, Timothy W. Birdsong, Stephen Magnelia, John Botros, Megan Bean, Alana Hoffman, M. Melissa Parker, and Sarah Robertson from Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, Texas River Access and Conservation Areas, a case study in use of riparian leases to enhance angler access and facilitate river stewardship. Congratulations to these folks for their stellar contributions to advancing fishery and fishing science. The Association's Fisheries Biologist of the Year Award is presented to a career biologist from a state wildlife agency who, in the opinion of the Seafwa Awards Committee, has made outstanding contributions towards fisheries conservation in the Southeast. Your 2020 award winner and fisheries biologist extraordinaire, Jeff Evans, who has served as the superintendent at North Carolina's Watha State Fish Hatchery for nearly 30 years. Over that time, he has been an invaluable asset to the North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission, and his influence has extended well beyond North Carolina. His efforts have significantly advanced the science of fish propagation and have substantially expanded opportunities to meet the needs of fisheries managers using stocked fish. Here is just one of many examples of his work. In 2010, the Commission incorporated genetic parentage bass tagging, or PBT, into its production program. Initially, PBT was implemented for American shad stocked in the Roanoke River and striped bass stocked in coastal rivers. This technology allowed fisheries managers to conclusively identify hatchery contributions to Andromedas fish populations and to track and minimize genetic impacts to native fishes. In order to successfully implement PBT, Jeff developed strict fish production and record-keeping protocols to keep individual parent groups separate on the hatchery until stocked. In 2011, based on concerns about genetic integration, the Commission decided to only stock progeny of endemic striped bass into the Tar, Neuse, and Cape Fear rivers. This meant that individual parent groups had to be maintained for each of the 4 river systems, and their progeny had to be kept separate throughout their time at the facility. Because striped bass for the Tar and Neuse rivers are reared at the Edenton National Fish Hatchery, Jeff also had to work with Edenton staff to ensure that fish transferred from Watha to Edenton were kept separate. Jeff successfully maintained these discrete groups of fish, allowing management staff to evaluate the true hatchery contribution by river system. This groundbreaking evaluation has resulted in a significant shift in the approach to managing coastal striped bass in North Carolina. Jeff created a fin clip catalog numbering system to maintain chain of custody that is currently used by Watha, Edenton, and commission management staff. Through Jeff's work in developing protocols for handling broodfish and their progeny, PBT has become a common method to evaluate various aspects of stocked fisheries. Examples of other species include largemouth bass, blueback herring, reservoir striped bass, and walleye. If it's not obvious, Jeff Evans is a vital part of the North Carolina Inland Fisheries Division. His consistent performance throughout his career, coupled with his extensive contributions to fisheries management and restoration efforts in North Carolina and beyond, make Jeff an obvious choice for Seafwa Fisheries Biologist of the Year. Now back to a couple of additional special recognition awards that the awards committee felt warranted Seafwa-wide recognition. At the risk of making it look like the committee chairman had undue influence on the process, let me assure you that I recused myself from the selection of the Special Recognition Award winners. Trust me. Just ask that game warden you met a few moments ago. You can trust me. Now that we've established a level of trust, Seafwa's second Special Recognition Award winner is the Oklahoma Fishing Trails Program. In June of 2019, Oklahoma Lieutenant Governor Matt Pinnell announced the launch of the Oklahoma Fishing Trail, a new collaborative between Oklahoma's Department of Tourism and Recreation and the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation. The goal was twofold: make Oklahoma a top 10 state for tourism and a top 10 destination for fishing. With a newly branded website, myriad social media campaigns, 25.5 million billboard views, and plenty of swag to go around, #FishingOK took off. The Oklahoma Fishing Trail highlights 38 lakes across the state and an additional 20 Oklahoma fishing experiences that are part of the Wildlife Department's Close to Home fishing program. Objectives for this initiative were to increase tax revenue from fishing-related activities and increase fishing license sales. In the first 6 months after its launch, there was a 2% increase in Oklahoma resident annual fishing license sales over the same time period the previous year, and a 23% increase in non-resident annual fishing licenses. On the tourism side, Oklahoma witnessed an incredible 190-to-1 return on investment based upon the $39 million in projected lodging revenue generated by the digital campaign. You're doing fine, Oklahoma. Now we shift to our last, but certainly not least, special recognition award from the home state of our outgoing president, Chuck Sykes. Just trying to increase your faith in the process there. In all seriousness, a very well-deserved special recognition award goes to the Alabama Aquatic Biodiversity Center, which is the largest state non-game recovery program of its kind in the United States. The mission of this center is to promote the conservation and restoration of rare freshwater species in Alabama waters and in turn restore cleaner water in Alabama's waterways. Alabama is known to have the greatest number of freshwater species of mollusks and fish in the United States. However, over the past 80 years, Alabama has lost over 67 species of these mollusks and fish to extinction. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has listed more than 54 species as threatened or endangered in Alabama's water. This center helps to restore threatened or endangered species of mollusks and fish through propagation and restoration. By culturing, restoring, and conserving these species, it aids in clean water efforts in Alabama's waterways. Congratulations to the Alabama Aquatic Biodiversity Center. While we're still on the theme of Alabama, and no, being from Oklahoma, I'm not going to recognize that SEC team that beats the snot out of everybody in football. It's time to present the most shocking, nail-biting, you'll never guess who it is award of the night. Husband to Gigi, father to Sid the Wonder Dog. Are you on the edge of your seat yet? This year's Past President's Award recognizes Chuck Sykes, Director of the Alabama Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, for his 2 years of incredible service at the helm of Seafwa. Much to my surprise, Chuck actually accumulated a list of impressive accomplishments during his tenure as president. I just thought he hunted all the time. Under Chuck's leadership, Seafwa developed a document entitled Guidance for State Wildlife Agencies Regarding Hunter Inquiries into Testing Harvested Cervids for Chronic Wasting Disease, revised the C.W. Watson Award operational documents, extended Seafwa officer terms to 2 years, law enforcement death benefits increased to $5,000. The Southeast Conservation Adaptation Strategy, or SECAS, continued to expand. The Conservation Leaders for Tomorrow gained momentum and picked up more states, including my own. The Bearwise program expanded website and gained significant recognition. The Southeastern Species at Risk program, under the guidance of the Wildlife Diversity Committee, expanded funding to evaluate population status of species believed to be in jeopardy and of being listed as endangered species. In my 4 years with Seafwa, I have become great friends with Chuck. It's not because I was trying to cozy up to the president or anything nefarious, though. It's because Chuck is kind, humble, loyal, dedicated, sacrificing, passionate, and of course fun. That's a given if we're gonna hang out, right? In the short years we've known each other, I've watched Chuck step up and lead the charge on dozens of important committees, task forces, and initiatives to help advance our cause on the national front, all while trying to hold down his day job in Alabama, shoot an occasional turkey, train the most amazing Aussie to do pretty much anything, and love his soulmate and hunting partner, Gigi, to the moon and back. Thanks for your 2 years of sacrifice to Seafwa as president. Thanks for all you do on numerous other fronts to take care of us. And thanks for having my back all the time, brother. Congratulations and Godspeed, Chuck Sykes. Our final award of the night is the Clarence W. Watson Award, a prestigious award that is presented jointly by Seafwa, the Southeastern section of the Wildlife Society, and the Southern Division of the American Fisheries Society, in recognition of an individual's sustained efforts that have contributed the most to any of the appropriate areas of fish and wildlife conservation in the Southeast, including research, administration, law enforcement, information and education, wildlife management, and fisheries management. The 2020 C.W. Watson Award Committee consisted of Kevin Dockendorf, Chair, representing the Southern Division of AFS, Florida Director Eric Sutton, representing Seafwa, and Dr. Lisa Muller, representing the Southeastern section of the Wildlife Society. The C.W. Watson Award Committee is grateful for the nominations received from throughout the Southeastern region. Without further ado, this year's recipient of the C.W. Watson Award is Dr. Leonardo E. Steve Miranda. Dr. Miranda is a renowned fisheries professor at Mississippi State University and unit leader at the USGS Cooperative Fish and Wildlife Research Unit. Dr. Miranda is a native of Chile, and his education spans from Morehead State University, Auburn University, and Mississippi State University. His research program over the past 30+ years has addressed critical challenges facing inland fisheries management, including habitat loss in rivers and reservoirs, harvest management strategies for sustainable fisheries, factors influencing fish production and yield, and social aspects of fisheries management. Dr. Miranda has had a lasting impact on fisheries management and is perhaps the most accomplished reservoir research biologist in the world. He has mentored over 40 graduate students who have gone on to influence fisheries management as agency biologists, environmental scientists, and academics. In addition to his research, his training of graduation students, and his lengthy publication record, Dr. Miranda has served as a practical resource for state agency fisheries managers across the southeastern U.S. and particularly in his home state of Mississippi. Dr. Miranda has served the fisheries profession and the fisheries management community in particular as associate editor and editor of the North American Journal of Fisheries Management. He was chair of the Southern Division of the American Fisheries Society Reservoir Committee and chair of the steering and program committees for the Third International Reservoir Symposium. Dr. Miranda has received numerous awards throughout his career, including the Southern Division of AFS Outstanding Achievement, AFS Distinguished Service, AFS Fisheries Management Section Award of Merit, AFS Excellence in Fisheries Education, Mississippi AFS Lifetime Achievement, AFS Fisheries Management Section Fisheries Management Hall of Excellence, and he is an AFS Fellow included in the inaugural class in recognition as being one of the most influential North American fisheries scientists in history. Dr. Steve Miranda is the 57th recipient of the C.W. Watson Award. Congratulations, Dr. Miranda, and thank you for your incredible contributions to advancing fisheries science throughout the Southeast and the world. We're fortunate to have you in our Seafwa ranks. Just when you thought you might not outlast that double bourbon, we're done. But don't leave yet. I have at least one more important announcement. If you value your colleagues and the great accomplishments for which they were recognized this evening, I implore you to give us a few more minutes of your time and join us in the Winner's Circle Zoom rooms. Instructions are on the screen, and I'm sure Cindy and her team will make it as foolproof as possible. So pour another one and let's have a toast to all of our incredible winners. Now leave me alone so I can get back to my honey hole. Good night, y'all.